Easy E, how are we?
Seán, what's the story? We're late.
Well, if we didn't do it at all, this could be considered an early podcast, but it was a Monday evening podcast, and yeah, just a busy day. I'll be first time working on Monday morning in 6 months. That sounds like I'm complaining for nothing, but I miss me football. I love having Monday mornings off and work from there, but had to be done today. So Sunday night, I couldn't get to the podcast. This one's on me. But the training on my end is starting to build up towards the marathon. And I got this idea in my head. I was subscribed to Audible for I don't know how long. And we get the 6 credits. They still take money off you each month, but don't give you an extra credit. So I was like, I better cancel that. So not that Amazon needed it, but they got an extra 60, 70 quid off me for absolutely nothing, which is starting. And I finally went, you know what? Feck this. So I've been kind of on the sidelines a little bit with my Achilles. I can't push it all on it for the last couple of weeks. I was like, right. And I started slowly building up the easy runs. So I went in Audible and I just used up all my credits. Like within a half hour, I was like, endurance running, get that. Get, a book on this, a book on that, just to have it in my head and just something to listen to and try and build up the miles, because the way I am, I'm not too sure if I'm going to be able to get my pace back in time for a marathon. So I think I'm going to do more kind of a lot of it's going to be like 90% is going to be more just those easy runs, putting miles in the legs and then adjusting there. Having said that, during the week, I could decide, feck it, I'm going for an interval. I feel good. Let's see what happens, because the Achilles is feeling all right now. But long story short, I did this and I went out last Wednesday evening after boot camp, went for a run, stuck on the Audible book, went for a 10K. And I don't know if it was my first kind of run back in a bit of a while or it was just the Audible book. I was like, you know what? This is an absolute struggle. It was late at night. It was actually dark for the first time running in like good 3-4 months. And I struggled to do 10K. And I was like, well, that's disheartening. So then Thursday, we strength training. Friday, I went out for a 16K, kept the Audible book. I was on endurance running and bow hunting and all this sort of mad stuff. And went out. By the 8K marker, I was like, I am done. This is horrible. I don't know if I was just mentally exhausted, physically exhausted, everything, the works. I had another 5K left and I saw a spar. I hopped in, got a protein bar and a packet of hunky dories and finished off 16K, which I normally I'm able to do. I sat there, had this, and I struggled back, and I got to the 14K mark, and I said, well, feck this audiobook anyway, because I kept stopping and starting. I felt dead. I said, feck this. Changed it up, gym playlist, Eminem, till I collapsed. And I swear to God, next 6-7 minutes, I was gone. And I was like, what is going on? What is happening here? So Saturday did my strength training. Sunday, back out and we run again, 24K. I say, well, feck this Audible book. It's not happening. Had to put on just banger tune after banger. Actually, I put on Eminem's Curtain Call hits. He's got a new one out. And the first 4 or 5 hits, I'm like, I was feeling all like, it's already old ones. But then he's got a lot of recent anthems like Rap God and Love the Way You Lie and all that kind of stuff kicked in. I was like, this is deadly. Next minute I looked up that 8K marker I struggled at 2 days ago. I'm at it. I'm like, I feel great. Let's keep going. Finish the 24K, 2 hours of Eminem. And I wouldn't say not a bother. The last 3K I slowed down to like a 5:30 pace, but I was going to 4:50, 5-minute pace, which I have not done in a good month. Felt a bit stiff and sore afterwards. But I was able to go from not being struggling at an 8K on a Friday to a Sunday completing a 24K. And I just want to hammer this home because I was asked this a couple of weeks ago. Music is 100% cheating, and I don't even care. Unless the rest, I don't even care because it's a mental battle, that mental struggle to keep on going and stuff. And whereas, I feel like I've been listening to an Audible book, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, that I'm constantly thinking, and I'm trying to stay in tune with the Audible book and what's going on, and when they're describing something, trying to think what's happening there and put myself in their shoes, especially if it's not a biography, and I just had to think about that. Whereas when I'm listen to music, it's like whatever floats in my head, which is random stuff. I get ideas for businesses and podcasts and everything else, and it's like it's fun kind of thinking, whereas I'm concentrating too much on more things in the audiobook. Now people listening to this might be able to listen to audiobook, listen perfectly, like, Seán, you're full of crap, but for me, I know when it's anyway long distance, I have to have the music.
100%. Like, apart from marathon day, because you're surrounded by distractions.
That's different. Race day, I'm good.
Yeah,
I don't need it race day. I don't want it race day. I'm like, I love the atmosphere, the adrenaline, everything. Even if it's a quiet race, I love the fact that I'm in a race. got to catch the next person, and that's a different goal because now I'm thinking that. But if I'm doing it on my own, I don't know if it's a bad thing mentally for me or what the crack is, but that's where I'm struggling.
Well, I even find as well when my fitness is not great, when I'm doing the indoor cycling, some people watch Netflix and they'll put on their favorite show while they're cycling away.
Yeah.
I can't do it because I get to that point of tiredness because I'm on like a 3-hour cycle, and then I just become mildly irritated with the show. And I'm like, it's the show's fault I'm tired. I'm not paying.
I tried on a treadmill. I was the same. I couldn't. It was even like it was like an interview type thing and stuff, and I was just watching it going, if I was sitting now, I would love it. But I'm like, the fact I'm running, I'm like, you guys are annoying me.
I don't know. I think it's, I don't know, maybe it's just we're a bit slower on the uptake there, Seán, but it's probably like, it just takes so much of our attention to, maybe it's because we're more respectful than others. We actually pay attention when people are speaking. And it takes up so much of our attention that the body's kind of like, what the fuck are you doing? So yeah, I've definitely found it audible. I've tried a few running. I did try that before when I had all three. I was like, sure, I'm running for 2 hours. I could listen to so much of my audiobook, but no, it just doesn't go with it. I suppose it's kind of the same when you're studying and stuff. You can't listen to an audiobook and then study something else or read something else. You know, like
it's a task in itself.
It's a task in itself to actually pay them attention. Because even when I'm sitting in the car, sitting in traffic, I'm like, oh, cool audiobook. And I won't catch myself. I'll just find my brain just wandered. And then after I was like, shit, what did your man say? And I'm hitting the reverse 30 seconds. And I ended up hitting it like 5 or 6 times and realized I was in a different world for about 3 minutes. I didn't hear a breeze of what they said. But it's I actually am still paying my Audible, and I haven't downloaded a book in ages. You've kind of reminded me I need to get rid of that this month.
The irony of all this right now is, no doubt, there is somebody running right now listening to two of us shite on, and they've zoned out already. So thank you for downloading and listening to the Any Given Runday podcast. And on that note, we'll hit the intro music. Let's go. Speaking of mental battles and stuff, before we get any further into this podcast, did you see Dara's post? He did a backyard ultra. For those of you that don't know, Dara's has been on the podcast a couple of times. We did the Barrow Away with him a couple of months ago, well over a year ago now at this stage, and he helped me out with the 4448 challenge, popping up here. And he did his first ultra. So shout out to Dara, got 100 miles. So if you don't want a backyard ultra, I think it's run every hour, but is it 4 miles? Is it 5 miles you have to run, and then you get a bit of a break and go again? I know he had to run, and he averaged out 50 minutes, and he had a 10-minute break, and then on the whistle he had to go again and go with it. But I can't remember.
Yeah, it pretty much works out that you kind of just have a fuel stop, really.
Yeah, he did 100 miles in 24 hours anyway. So it's like you could either sprint it and have load of break, but then your legs are going to be goosed. But I can't remember exactly how long it is. I must look that up as we're talking away. But yeah, incredible achievement. It's
phenomenal. We're doing as I've mentioned, the Malin to Mizzen, the Mizzen to Malin cycle. And I was at a party on the weekend, and they were asking me about the podcast and how it's going. And they were like, what do you talk about? I was like, I'm mostly training. And I was like, but we get lunatics on to talk about some of the crazy stuff. And I actually mentioned Dara. I was like one of the guys did a 100-mile race, and they're all like, oh yeah, that's not bad, yeah. And I was like, hold on, this hasn't really set in. I was like, that's 160 kilometers. And then I was like, oh yeah, because like all of these have tried a 5k and a 10k, and taught doing that 10k 16 times in one day. One lad nearly fell off his chair. But when you just say 100 miles, like our 60-mile race, like, oh yeah, it's not bad, but when you put it into kilometers, the realization hit a few of them. They were like, Jesus, these lads are nuts.
It's unbelievable.
But like, I'll cover that on the bike, and I still think of that distance and go, not a chance am I running that. Like, it's like, even to think of his Barrow Way run, 117 or 118 kilometers. Like, I did that on a cycle, and I was using people, I was drafting behind them, and I did it in 4 hours, and I was delighted and went home wrecked. I was like, to think I had to run the same thing.
Unbelievable. But that's where mentality comes into it, and especially with the ultra, because it's a case of you do your lap and you've got your time to start in the next hour. And it's like, at any stage, you could say, I haven't got it in me, and back out from there. But to keep going for 24 hours straight, and that's when sleep deprivation all kicks in. It is a little jealous. If I'm honest with you, I'm a little jealous. When you talk about cycling for 200K, I'm like, the more about swimming and Ironmans, I'm like, but the running, the long distance, can you keep going? I love that element, that mental battle to it.
It is like, and it's a lot of people, I suppose it's easy to say, that wouldn't be so bad. But you haven't been at that midnight stage, haven't been awake for X amount of hours and started at 8 o'clock that morning. You're now 16 hours in, and the body's screaming for rest. But you'll probably agree, Seán, that does reach a stage of the body doesn't know what to tell you anymore. It's just there. And it's actually kind of relaxing, because you reach that stage of
you put yourself in that mindset. Like when I did 4:48, I was like, oh my god, the 4 a.m.s are going to be an absolute killer. Like 12 o'clock at midnight is going to be an absolute killer. But then when I got up, I was like, you just have to get up and go. Whereas right now, like there's some mornings I get up at 5 in the morning, I'm like, oh my god, for work, and I've had a good 7-8 hours sleep, not 2 or 3. And it's so hard to get myself out of the bed and go. Or even yesterday morning, trying to get up before a 24K run, it was like 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning. That was a complete lie off me. I'm like, how am I going to get up and go? But like when you say when you're in the moment, it's flight or flight, and let's go. But something like 100 mile, you're not just going to get a ticket in that and say next week, let's go. Unlike you got to think of something recently, you're like, all right, let's go.
This is the important thing about maintaining your fitness. And if you're going to keep running your mouth on a podcast, you kind of have to answer to it a couple of times. And to be fair, I haven't done much running. I think the most I ran is a 10K in a week or something in the last little while. But I have 2 weeks of going away to Glasgow to see Coldplay. It's going to be a good one. But while I'm there, we're going up into the Highlands. So every morning I'm going to try and get a 10K run in, which will add in a few hills. And just, I've been focusing on the cycling because obviously, as I've said before, the running will not substitute the cycling, but the cycling will definitely substitute the running. In terms of cardiovascular fitness, like spending 3 hours of that 140 beat per minute is done wonders for the fitness, the weight coming down, everything else. So for the next 5-6 days, I will be out doing 10Ks as best I can up until next week, and I'll do a couple more long cycles because I got a text to say, here's a plan. I'm going to go run the marathon and you can just do the half marathon in Dingle. And I was like, yeah, that sounds reasonable. And it's the day before I start the longest cycle I've ever done. So it's, Ozzy, who has also been on the podcast. And to be fair to him, has not been doing a marathon plan. He has been training. He's doing a great thing now. He made the New Year's resolution to train every single day. He had to do something every single day since January 1st, be it yoga, a walk, a run, a weight session, but a purposeful exercise, not just, I walked home from there, like as in dedicated, I'm going to do something.
Unbelievable.
And he has done that every day since January 1st. So he hasn't been marathon training, but he has the ticket and he's like, well, I'll go to the marathon. So, and he has a half marathon ticket and he'd like company. So we're taking the camper van, we're driving down to Dingle. So a road trip for the lads. We'll get down early, we'll have a big dinner, 2 of us spoon each other in the little camper down for the night. And then we'll wake up the next day and I'll do a half, he'll do a full. I'll be finished well earlier and he's driving, so I'll be on the beer. And we'll head back up. So I'm coming all the way back up from Kerry then to the next day, get on buses and load up all my kit and equipment to go down and do the Bizen to Malin. So good bit of travelling over the weekend. But like it's 3 months ago, do you know when we talked about the 5-6 week? Had he offered me, I would have said not a chance, no way. And now I haven't ran, but I've done something. I have done something enough that the body can survive a half marathon. It can survive 2 hours in relatively hilly terrain or whatever it is. It doesn't matter if I walk, run, it can definitely do it. So and then it's like people know, they just see it and go, yeah, he's definitely training again. Because then I got offered the marathon ticket for the same race. And the 2 people never spoke about this, never communicated, 2 different circles. Someone just texted me and was like, listen, I can't do this race. Do you want my marathon ticket? So obviously the reputation spreads. Well, I doubt they listen to the podcast either, but the reputation spreads. Like, do I
You've done
know
this
anyone
before.
stupid out there? Yeah, actually. So yeah, I really, I'm not gonna lie. For about 40 seconds, I did think I probably could do the marathon, but you know what? There's just too big a week.
No,
There's
not before
just
that cycle.
too big a week. So yeah, half marathon day out with and a good catch up with Ozzy and driving the van down. It's probably a 3-wheeler. I haven't seen this joke yet, but it'll be like Only Fools and Horses all the way down to Dingle.
Unbelievable, Jeff.
So yeah, it's good. It's almost a pity that I don't know what the plan is. Maybe look, if he is staying over the next night, I might look at getting transport down a little bit to meet the gang the next day. So it's I'm in two minds about the whole thing, but yeah, it's brilliant. It's absolutely
what date's
brilliant.
that on? Just to hold you to that in the podcast, so talk about it.
Dingle, we start cycling on the 5th. The 4th is the Sunday, so I'll either be traveling up and down. So it's the Saturday 3rd of September.
Geez, Saturday week.
So yeah. So if I can get 60 kilometers in, 10k every day over the next little while, it'll just build up and then come off the running, go back to the cycling, take the pressure off the legs in the kind of impact sense, but we're still working them. Then I should have 1 or 2 rest days. Then my last long cycle will be on the Thursday when I come back.
Mm-hmm.
Friday, just rest, make our journey down. Saturday, go for my half marathon. Sunday, rest. And then the big cycle starts on the Monday.
Unbelievable. Just to segue slightly on that, because you're talking about Ozzy and doing one thing a day. I don't know if he's doing a lot of it now, but like, just to give an example of the stuff Ozzy's doing. Like, you've top 4 the podcast, you just got up one day and went up to Wicklow and did a stupid long run and stuff and stupid long hikes. But one of the things I saw he used to do a lot, or I don't know if he's still doing it, and you obviously done this before with your background, is running like with a 10 kg vest and weights and stuff like that. Would you recommend that as a form of training? Haven't done that before? He puts too much pressure on the lower back. Talk to Ozzy why he does it, or? Well,
we have to do it. So every year we have to run 10k with 14 kilos on the back.
Every year?
Part of the fitness test. Yeah. So is there a training benefit to it? It's military fitness, I suppose.
Military, yeah. But you wouldn't see that for like, okay, I got a marathon coming up. I'm short on time. Would I throw a weighted vest on myself for some of my shorter runs and stuff like that? Now, I'm not saying that the everyday person would do that, but would you implement that thing, or would Ozzy do that if you need more from your legs for more hikes and the mountain kind of stuff he's done before in the past? Or do you think it's just like, you know what, just run because you're not going to be running a day using the weighted vest? I know I'm putting you in the spot there with a question. I don't know why I popped
like it is a good segue as well. And I suppose from the experience, like if you had the choice, why the fuck would you bother putting the weight on? But the other aspect is like, okay, what's the end goal here? Are you looking to suffer? Well, in that case, load yourself up, absolutely. Because that heart rate goes from the 140 to 170 and you're only walking, depending on what you're doing, like it's... but then the weighted vest has fantastic benefits. If you are thinking of climbing, say I wanted to get a hard session in, but a walk, I would load myself up and I'd walk up Ticknock. I wouldn't try and run it up, but the extra weight on the legs, the angle that you're taking in, you're building muscles. So there's ways and means of what you're doing, but it all depends on the end goal. Like a lot of the things that guys would do, particularly in the military environment, is they always hear of the Murph, which is doing the pull-ups, the push-ups, and the 2-mile run with the weighted vest on. So that tends to happen a lot, especially when you're around the circuit, and especially when every year you have to do a 10k loaded march, is what it's called. So when it's part of your yearly fitness, people tend to keep it there. Especially when you're in a training environment, if you're training people in military fitness, or you're training to become soldiers, you kind of have to lead by example. And if you can't do it, then you can't expect someone else to do it. So I fly helicopters, so I don't do it. But the helicopter does all the lifting faster than any of these fuckers. So, it is. I haven't spoke to him about it, or if he's just doing it, but most of it would just be maintaining that military fitness. Yeah. So there's a lot of guys actually that would do the marathon with the backpack and the boots. So 14 kg for 40 kilometers, and some of them have done it phenomenal runs in it. I know Conor Tiernan, who is in the Air Corps as well. I think he set the record recently, and it's a 10K loaded march. Don't quote me on the time, but somewhere between 28 minutes and 33 minutes with 14 kilos on his back or something like that for a 10K.
My God.
It's something ridiculous. Now, I don't quote me the time, but it's something shocking. It's something that everyone just went, ugh. Like, it's amazing talent. It's amazing work ethic. It's just amazing. But no one can relate to it whatsoever. It's absolutely fantastic. But yeah, it is that element.
It serves purpose.
Every year. Yeah,
it serves purpose what you guys do, but it's probably not something like, hey, you want to do a marathon, throw this in your back and go ahead.
Yeah.
But like, it's great in the gym as well. Like, you do like kettlebell carries, farmer carries, which is like lacking in a lot of people's programs, or even getting 2 light kettlebells. You press them overhead, go for a walk, and you're going to feel that in your core pretty damn fast. So you're going to feel it in your forearms. You have too heavy by your side, and you're working your core. You go for a slow march, or even go on a treadmill, put a slight incline on it. You hold 220s on a kettlebell and try and hit a mile on it just walking. Oh my God, it's a great little finisher to a workout.
Yeah, and it's like, it's even good. Like, if you have a weighted vest on, just walk up and down the stairs. You know, like, it's little elements like that. But you know what's funny is when you think of it in practical terms, 6 weeks ago I was 95 kilos. I'm now 90 kilos. Most of these weighted vests are 10 kilos. Do you know? So if I lose another 5 to where I was last year, 85 kilos, and I'm still training now. Well, if I got down to the 85 and gave me a 10 kilo vest and told me to go do what I was doing 6 months ago when you were that weight, I'd be like, get.
Yeah.
Whereas I do it when I naturally carry the weight anyway. So
there's a bit of relative strength in there as well now.
Yeah. So there shouldn't be too much of madness, but people can argue with me, but I do agree that kind of punishment to the body is not long term. It's not sustainable long term. I'd even question the road running and the marathon running. I know some people have done it for a lifetime, but depending on your weight class, I don't know if that's gonna be a long term thing either. You know, so it's without getting too political in it, but there's a reason why soldiers retire earlier in their career. You know, like, you can only ask for so much physical punishment for so long, and then it begins to take a toll. Like, I just see it with my own dad, you know, the arthritis and stuff from here and there, probably way before his years, because of years of that kind of punishment. Like, yeah.
But even to scale it back and get away from the political, even marathon runners now, and the few that I'm talking to, leading up to the marathon, whether it's in Galway at the start of October, Dublin the end of October, or you next weekend in Dingle. You'll notice now, talking to them, that the Dingles are starting to catch up, and this may seem crazy. Actually, probably not people listening to this podcast, but I truly believe, as much as I love running and all the rest, I don't think I've gotten injured more in any other sport than running. I think there's always something there because the pounding on it, let alone bringing back the weight vests and stuff all back into it, accentuating that pounding for a lot more. I don't want to say tenfold, but a lot more, because like 4 times your body weight to run. With the extra weight, God knows how much is added onto it. I'm not that great at maths. But like right now, I know a lot of people that are building towards the marathon, yourself included, those niggles and stuff come in. So if you're doing running and long distance running, you want to have a good reason, that good why, that good race to lead towards. Otherwise, 5Ks and 10Ks are absolutely perfect unless you've got that goal to go further for a race. I believe anyway.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, it's a fine line between like just punishment for the sake of punishment. Like, it eventually it all catches up, and it makes sense. Like, it's no different to a machine, ball bearing. Like, it's there's fluid around the ball bearing. The oil keeps the luke out. Works hard. Overworks for a certain way. Like, something can go eventually. Like, we can do a lot to prevent injury. We can foam roll. We can stretch. We can condition. But eventually wear and tear builds up as you get older. But that's kind of why, maybe I'm trending towards the triathlon side and have started to trend towards the triathlon side, is because I see a lot of older people doing it. Not saying I'm ancient, but I know of a few good marathons left of me. And then after that, I think the Olympic, I'd like to do a couple of Ironmen. And then after that, I think, Olympic distance triathlons just for fun. I think is where I would like to be. But there will always be something. There will always be, I'm turning 50, I'm gonna do 50 marathons this year. Like it's there is always something. But I think once something like an Ironman distance or a full distance triathlon or the Hardman Killarney next year, once you cross that line, I think you've caught the bug. You're in the rhythm. Do as many as you can. Kids, everything else might come along and change that rhythm, and then it's just you could show up and do a sprint distance triathlon, and then at that stage, because you've put enough years in that you can just pick it up and drop it down. And same as you, like a 5K now. Like if someone asks you in the morning, do you want to go run 5K? You're kind of like, is that it?
Unless you said race, and I'm like, oh, man, leave me alone.
Well,
I was like, run 5K. I'm like, yeah, no, sure, no bother.
Yeah, like it would kind of be the same now, unfortunately, with us and half marathons. If someone offers you a half marathon, even if you haven't trained, you're like, yeah. It just gets to that level. But you don't need to keep running the marathon unless you've got a big goal. But because I do believe it'll take its toll. I know we're reading books that say otherwise, and we've seen a lot of people like that lady who's ran every marathon since the very first one in the 80s. Like it's there are people doing it every year, and credit to them. But for every one success story, there's a lot of people with niggles and injuries and knees and all sorts of backs, and so you do kind of have to be careful of the body.
Yeah, I mean, there's 8 weeks to go until the Dublin Marathon, and there's 22,500 tickets sold. And I guarantee on race day there's going to be like 18,000 people doing it. And out of those 18,000, probably 16, and that's probably being generous, if not less, have been those that had the ticket originally for themselves that are not just passed off to someone else to do.
Oh,
so as it gets closer, you're going to see a lot of people. You're going to see it's going to be easier to get a Dublin Marathon. Now you have to run under someone else's name, but even like to go back to people I know, I already know people that are able to do the Dublin Marathon all of a sudden. 2 people actually that off the top of my head that have only got a ticket in the last couple of weeks, and they're not selling tickets, so they must have just got a ticket off someone else. Like, I cannot do this year for whatever reason. Could be injury, could be just hadn't trained enough. I'd lean towards injury in most cases, just like I haven't got it in me to get this marathon in. And that's not a bad thing. Sometimes you have to say, look, this is not in me this year. I'm going to make myself a lot worse if I do a marathon. I'm not saying they chicken out a marathon like that. I'm saying, look, there's different circumstances. My whole point is that it's a daunting task, and you're there's a very big increase in risk and injury no matter what you do, that people picking up niggles and stuff along the way leading up to it, that you want to really just enjoy marathon, enjoy the challenge, rather than, hey, I'm going to do a marathon and get fit. Because if that's your reasons, there's a million and one other things you could do. Probably walk and be a lot better for you realistically than doing a marathon.
Yeah, and then the year we did the marathon and we set our good times, I didn't have a ticket, but I still trained as if I did, because I knew that one will come along, and I think I got it the week or two before, and I was like, all right, here we go. Well, I've trained anyway, I'm ready. So there is that element of, if you're ready and trained, and if one comes along, like, you won't hear of a marathon ticket if you haven't been training for a marathon.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, it's, or if you haven't done one before like this, people just know I've done one or two, and they're like, here, you're stupid. Do you want this ticket?
Yeah.
But but if you've been training, your ear is to the ground for these kind of things. The conversation will happen about, I'm doing a bit of running now and stuff. And it's like, oh, my sister's boyfriend, he was due to do it. He actually can't do it. He has to go away with work. He's selling a ticket. Like, it's amazing. And like, I think we're underestimating. I'd say there's a good 6,000-7,000 tickets handed on by the end of it, to be honest.
Possibly,
there's so much stuff that comes up. Like, even my own, I was seeing there was schedules that were going to cross Dublin Marathon, and I turned down a few things for myself because I was like, nope, I know it's on that weekend.
Yeah.
But other people don't have that luxury, I suppose. So, I'd say there's quite a few deferrals and pass-ons as well. So, yeah, if you want to do one, I suppose that's the kind of takeaway from that. Just train. Train for it. Set yourself up to be in a position to say yes to these things, because a lot of people start trying to offload tickets and get you doing the races.
I think that's a great way to type this episode of the podcast, and also say if that person's still running while listening to us, fair play.
Don't know how you do it.
Don't know how you do it, but we do respect, we do thank you for it. And on that note, even if you're not running while listening to this, thank you very much for downloading and listening to this week's episode of the Any Given Runday podcast. That's it for myself and Eric. Take care.